This has always been the neatest town. There's some really great architecture. It's perfect for antiquing, and there are still a number of shops left here. I am so excited to show you some of this, so let's see what we can see in a really quick stop on our way to the West Palm Beach Antique Show. This is about the midpoint, so it's a great place to stop. All right, here we go into Treasure Alley. Interesting juxtaposition of helmets and military with kitchen and crockery. Ooh, and look at this neat brass telescope for $2.95 on a stand.
I like to hit a couple of the antique stores just to find any last-minute goodies that I can take to the antique show when I'm on the way. I'm checking this cat out to see how old it is. I don't think it's a new reproduction because the seam is tight, but it's not quite as heavy casted as a lot of the original Hubley pieces either, so I'm thinking it might be a later one. They did produce into the 1970s. There's a set of Stetson china. And then on my way back through after the show, I usually hit a thrift store because I get here too late at night in order to be able to hit the antique store. So we're going to do both.
I like the way that this is done. It was done after market, but it's really well done. Fired on. It's a 1940s peachy pink color, 30s, 40s. $45. You'll still find the Cambridge sticker on the color nobody ever used. Chrome is by Farber Brothers. There's the Chrome Craft line, and then there's this line, which has a slightly different shape in the bowl, but they're equally nice in quality. There's a place upstairs from here that's closed today called the Old Opera House that's pretty amazing. But this place certainly has been here a long time, too. At this point, Arcadia is a pretty established antique destination. Popular around 1950 were gay 90s motifs, and the Sanker Hawking set. They have 15 each. They don't sell for that much anymore. At $5 each, they'd be a buy.
You'll notice some big prices on the Navajo and southwestern Indian jewelry in this case, and I get it because the market is really high right now. I have to say this particular shop has been here a long time, and some of their pricing is kind of old school too, so I don't find a lot in this one. But on the other hand, they do have some things you don't see a whole lot of buckles and conchos and this sort of thing. And you notice they're advertising that this dealer also has pieces down the block in another store. One nice thing about an antique town is everybody helps each other out and refers people store to store. That's why it's good for them to all cluster in one place. And I have to say their prices are really not out of line on these belts. The green turquoise on the top is a little bit more unusual shade, and it's priced at $900, but it's got a lot of silver detailing. And then on the bottom, the Rosita Wallace piece, she really only produced in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That looks like more of a Hopi design to me, and her stuff goes for good money.
All right, could this be Italian? Let's take a look. Yeah, that looks a little different in the polish. Possibly Spanish. 65 minus 30%. Sometimes when tags are lost and things are forgotten on a low shelf, you might get a deal. It might be worth asking. Oh, the tiniest gator head and cobra head. $35 each. $35 on the Whiting and Davis. Here's an interesting piece. This is Fire King, but it's got a signature that says Fred Press, and Fred Press was another decorator who took stuff aftermarket and applied their stuff similar to Georges Briard in their time. This is priced at, with the discount, about $60. Always love purple glass. This is Pilgrim. 30% off these. That's Moroccan amethyst from the 60s. All of these hexagonal pieces. Hexagonal or octagonal? Octagonal. Just before these things became a thing of the past with indoor plumbing, Brindley made this very sweet Art Nouveau set about 1910 in very happy bright colors, sort of a carry-on from Majolica, but not Majolica, priced at $4.95 less 30%, so that makes it about $3.50. This sign was everywhere when I was a kid in Washington State. Foley is no more in these signs. Well, this one is priced now at $1.75. You grow a lot of tomatoes in this part of Florida, so there is tomato ware, just like you see in Kentucky. Well-documented cutlery in here. The top piece is Prussian cavalry, used in the First World War, but made before that. Prussia was gone before the First World War. World War II non-commissioned officer's sword there. Let me try to get the glare off of it. Model 1840, also non-commissioned officer's sword, but this is going to be earlier. Marked US on the blade, priced at $450. US Navy World War I presentation sword, made in Germany. Notice that this one is fancier, and it is meant for dress, not necessarily for fighting. That's why it's only $395, even though it's fancier. A lot of people get confused with swords until they know. It's not necessarily about being detailed and pretty, because that was just for marching. $12.95 for this Civil War era. It says it's a wrist breaker, and that's because of the way that that guard was made. It was very awkward. Cute 1920s Roseville child set, the Roseville sunbonnet. Big chip on one, though, unfortunately. I'm not sure what the Welcome Back World headquarters are, but welcome back. Ooh, this is a little place, but a big impact. I love this stuff, and the presentation is really fun. Oh, yes. Oh, I love Sabino.
Oh, man, it's terrible.
That's a great piece, and that's a nice label, too. So
this, I have a lady at home. Well, this all started with a kitten. Filthy
Really?
dirty that I found at Webster.
Uh-huh.
I cleaned it up. It was Sabino. I didn't know what it was.
Oh, wow.
Freak, but
Yeah.
I have a lady that's taller than that, and it's holding her dress up. That thing is just beautiful.
Oh, this is...
work, you know?
It's just beautiful. The sculpting is really good, and it's just soft enough to let the color of the glass come through. And yeah, these are really nice, and the fire is good. 1950s with this label? Yeah, that's about what I thought. Very nice.
I love this glass. It's terrible, isn't it?
Oh, actually, I think it's great. And yes, it is a bit of a disease, but I think it just looks wonderful. You've got a great display, and actually, you're not so heavy where you can't see what you have, and you have some really lovely things.
I have too much stuff in here. I moved out of a storage shed right before the hurricane. I was back here for nearly a month, and I haven't been right since, really. It's just damaged my door. They're working on it today.
Oh, that's terrible. I hadn't thought about that. Ooh, nice Blanco piece there in the middle.
Maybe you know who did this.
Oh, let me take a look. Oh, that's interesting. Well, the color is good, and
so
yeah.
You're out and about and you see something shaped like that, you know?
Yes, I wouldn't have necessarily picked that color of green to be fluorescing, so that's actually great.
But I think it is maroon, but I don't know.
Well, let me take a look.
A friend of mine is trying to, he's got 10 million books. I do too, but we can't find them.
Yeah, it's a fairly basic piece, and I've had one similar, and I believe it's also Murano because the shape is a little more exaggerated than a Scandinavian piece, even though it has that flavor.
I like their glass too.
Yeah, oh, I do too. Oh, yeah, well, I think we're kindred spirits because I see all sorts of glass that I like.
It could be from Finland, anywhere, you know.
Well, your horse there is cute.
The Viking came up with that.
Viking did a lot of animals too, yes.
I've seen it with their stickers on it, and hey, somebody could have took.
Oh, this particular one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a Viking. All right, well, that's good to know. Oh, yeah, here's a rainbow. Okay, and I see that. Donald Duck in orange. Oh, this is very pretty. I like these a lot. And look at the way they glow. Yeah, that is so neat. Yeah.
Bigger piece that the same man did, this kind of stuff. Right here.
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, it was Sendeza, yeah. Antonio de Ross.
I don't know who did this one, but look at that. Isn't that gaudy?
I like that, though. I've seen that piece a million times without the Vaseline rim. I
just love that color. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, yeah. No, that just looks great. And the one that you got is fantastic, too, especially with the orange insert. I have a Blanco Zodiac Suncatcher on my level 2 video, and this one happens to be the bull. So Taurus. As a paperweight. They did paperweights around the same time. I think I'll have to put that one aside. I've always liked Tiffin's Azure Blue. I think that is really nice.
You know that Matt's Johansson or whatever?
Yeah, I see those a lot.
Down here.
Are they now here? That's interesting because I still see them. It's funny. We see them in Seattle, and there's enough of them out there that people still sort of take them for granted. So I appreciate that hint. Yeah. Oh, it's different places. That's part of why I travel. Yeah. It sure is. Oh, there's Tramp from Lady and the Tramp. Oh, that's an unusual color pattern for that.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I don't really see that Italian piece in that color usually. Oh, I noticed you had some nice perfumes. I actually walked right by them.
Commercial perfume bottles I get, they go quick.
She looks like a Kaiser.
Yeah, she is.
She is, yeah.
But I mean, they did good pieces.
Oh, that's a cute little DeVilbiss there. And
Hey, boy, you're really into this stuff. You must have been in it your whole life.
well, I've been in it my adult life. I got interested in it right out of college because I got a job in it, and I have liked it ever since. Oh, that's really cute. Yeah, I think I'll take that one too. That is, yes.
I know this thing has been around a while.
Yeah, it looks early 60s to me, and I just think that's interesting.
There's actually a few pretty good deals in here. She's obviously knowledgeable and especially loves glass, so you're seeing prices in the normal ranges for those pieces. And the pottery is fairly priced too, $45 on the bandana duck. That's a fun piece. Let's see what's behind this crazy parts unicorn. Oh, a Royal Copley rooster, usual stuff. For a collector, it'd be great, and as a dealer, I'm finding a few things to pick.
We have assumed control.
Well, I didn't realize when I first got in the business, but now I've been around a while, I'm sure you know this too for the same reason, is that it's more prone to fads than you might imagine.
Yeah.
Something's popular for a while, and then people want to try something else, and it just sort of moves and morphs. Ooh, I like Pepe. This is a pattern of Red Wing from the late 60s. You don't see enough. Yeah, I really like that pattern. I wish I could find a set of it.
Oh, let's see how much this Empoli bottle is. $95. See, now that seems like a pretty good price these days for that piece. I have to say, I could live with a wall full of glass like that in my house. It's just so much fun, so many colors, so much from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I see Blanco bottles and Viking glass and just anything you can imagine. I really do enjoy this store.
And I see the Blanco bears too, and I don't see those often. And what's the, I know he's a display only, but what's the story on this guy?
I bought him to put up there in the air like he just landed on this planet.
Ha!
You know what
That's great.
And my nephew was supposed to put him up there, and he broke his arm. I told him he did it on purpose, so he didn't have to do it. I'm waiting for him to do it. It's heavy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that your place was spared from the hurricane. Were a lot of other ones damaged?
Glass blown out.
So horrible. Wow.
And it was, even after a month, close to a month when we got here,
Yeah.
glass in the streets. It was like a war zone.
Horrible. Wow. She's Shabbat Kunst. Yeah, that's really nice. No, she's great. And actually, $325 is absolutely a fair price for her. I would ask that. I think I have asked that in the past. She's great. And this is cool too. Actually, you have a whole lot of neat stuff up here. The J.B. Hirsch piece is neat.
Yeah.
The Bonnet Girl. And I like this Italian.
Yeah, that's got to be
The Red Dancer. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Look at the bottom, the way it's made. You know?
Yeah, well, the foot to me looks like, yeah, I mean, I think $225 is a good deal. The foot to me seems very much like the, oh, I am drawing a blank. I'll have to put it in the video. I didn't see that you had the cornucopia, the Winslow Anderson. Oh, yeah, no, that's a great piece. It's one of their earliest award-winning pieces. And the lucite purse that you have is really good, actually. $135.
White ones, but piece is still together.
Oh, it's still together. I don't know. I think that's a nice color for evening. So wow, very cool. Oh, who's this little guy? The owl. He's got some sort of a label.
Oh, he's Czechoslovakian.
Oh, very cute.
The apple, whatever in the bag, that's Verona. It has a label.
What's your name?
I'm Carolyn.
Carolyn. Well, Carolyn, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Well, now I know why they call it the Welcome Back World Headquarters, because she was just charming and so much fun and had some cool stuff. And I bought a couple of things. So that was a success. However, I also found out something interesting and terrible. We lost the old opera house and the museum and the cool stuff that was up there because the fellow who was there had to move back to Maine for family reasons. And it's actually a good thing he sold everything off because the building was seriously damaged in Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian really laid a number on this town, and this building was definitely damaged. This is why you see empty. There's just one operating business, the one we went into, in this block. So for Arcadia.
Well, in addition to heavy damage at the Opera House, this boarding house from the 1910s did not fare well. Fortunately, though, Arcadia is going through something of a renaissance. A lot of these older homes have been really worn down and are being renovated now. This gal that you're going to see here, this is Marilyn, and she is redoing this house built in 1926, and after a 6-year effort is almost done. A lot of houses still remain to be renovated in town, but a lot of them are really improving, and you see some really nice restorations happening, and a lot of different varieties, because this place really has a lot of houses from the 1890s, like this one, which was falling down when I first saw it, and now is a fully redressed, beautiful Victorian, all the way to this tin-roofed 1910s cracker house. So a lot of interesting house architecture in this little town, and it's nice to see it starting to come back to life.
Hopefully, because this is the county seat and there's people here who know how to do grant writing and get help to preserve historic structures, this can all be turned back into the antique destination that this particular part of the block was. I will be back at some point to show you more. However, I've got to get on to West Palm Beach, so it was fun getting to show you a couple of stores.
Well, the West Palm show was great, and now I'm on my way back. I get to see this guy as a landmark east of Arcadia, both directions. That lets me know we're getting close to either antiquing or thrifting time, and because it's the way back and I get here too late for the antique stores, we are going to whatever thrift store we find open first. And we will see if you can thrift in a town full of antique dealers, or whether you'll get skunked because they got all the good stuff.
Arcadia's antique stores really do have a lot of cool things, and there's more stores we didn't get to go to. Maybe we'll get back during one of the 4th Saturday sales. They have an antique show in the park every 4th Saturday year-round. In the summer, there's about 35 dealers. In the winter, there's about 100. But I don't really have time to go through any more antique stores. I have just enough time to hit a Goodwill that's still open, though. Today, we are looking for orange, the color of the week. Here's a sad reminder of why silver plate is just a tough sell these days. Maybe people will start wanting to entertain like this again, just for fun, or have a set just to show, but because of the issue of polishing, this is going dark. You can see where someone tried polishing it before, and the polish got stuck in the detail, and they just gave up. This is a Webster Wilcox set made by Oneida. This would have been over $125 new when I was involved with the Oneida store in the outlet center 30 years ago. It is $29.99 here. Fantasia. We're a little south of Disney in this part of Central Florida. This is the part of Central Florida that's more known for ranch lands and country living, and this town for antiques. It's always worth it in a thrift store to take a moment with the wood pieces, because you never know if you might see something that was Hawaiian monkey pod. Most of these look like they are Philippine or Thai teak, but always worth a quick look. I always wonder in a town that has a lot of antique stores whether the antique dealers really pick this place or if they bring stuff out from outside of states. Nice little Sorrento music box, but you can see what happens to these if they get any sort of bad interior climate control. They will crackle with that shellac finish there, and this one also, something was set on it, so we're going to leave that for $6.99. It's 87 degrees, perfect day for that. Books look mostly new. I have the Calvin and Hobbes 10th anniversary book. What a great strip, and you know, I have a lot of respect actually for the fact that he did not sell out on the merchandise. That's why you don't see Calvin and Hobbes merchandise. Okay, here we are in the hard goods. These are very 70s looking. I have a feeling they're Japanese. A lot of people did this sort of look. Let's see if there's a mark under the lid. Just a stock number, so that doesn't really tell us much. I don't think these are something that's going to be a big seller if we can't make an identification, because they're cute and they're of the era, but they're not really anything particularly unusual. So we're going to leave those. This goes with that Pyrex pattern. These are the plastic canisters. I don't personally like plastic to use in the kitchen, so that's just my feeling. This is a cute little bowl that looks like depression glass, but I believe it's Arco Rock from France. Notice how it's super pink. Other than Paden City in the US, I don't see this super deep pink color. Also, notice how the tabs on the handles are different. One is a fan and one is flat. So I think that actually is newer than it looks. This is a go along with Manhattan glass. Anchor Hocking came out with this in the late 30s, and it does have the square hocking mark, so it's a later piece. You can also tell that because the original ones didn't have the sealing plastic piece on the lid. And this is quite old. It's starting to turn lavender. This is what happens when you leave glass in the sun for a long time. If it's before about World War I, or if it's really well made like Elegant Depression glass up to about World War II, because they used a lot of manganese as a clarifying agent. And if it sits in the sun, the purple starts to come out. Some people love collecting anything that turns purple, and honestly, this is a pretty plain pattern. For $4, I think it could go to a lavender glass collector. Other glass collectors don't like it because they say that makes it sick glass, meaning that it's not the way it was originally. Personally, I don't mind it if it's natural, but I have seen people put them under ultraviolet light and turn them deep purple, and that is absolutely not right. This Goodwill still has furniture. That's good. And this looks like an older style in wicker, even though maybe the pieces are not as old as I think. But they definitely have a little more design and flair to them. And that round top, I don't know, I think these do have some vintage. They are asking $65 for the whole set. If you like wicker, now around here we're getting into the hot and steamy season, but in Arcadia, if you had a nice old Victorian with a porch, this would look great. Up north, it is the season for these, and it would be a great price up there. So this Goodwill does have some old stuff, and a lot of times in the smaller towns like this, they actually do leave the old stuff out for people to find. In St. Petersburg, this is what the Goodwill looks like. These are $12 each. Now, I don't like nonstick because the chemicals in it can be bad, but this is newer as well. But I do like the colors, and it does remind me a lot of the Desco-ware out of Belgium that is a generation older. Let's see what else we have down here. A lot of clear glass, a lot of newer items. This is not Fallsgraf. It's a redware piece that somebody made at home to look like Fallsgraf. This set of dishes with the pine cones is a transferware set we see out of the 60s. And it is by French Saxon China. This is pine cone. This was another one of the Ohio companies. Not a really expensive pattern, but if you lived somewhere where there are a lot of pine trees, it might be a cute thing to have, or in a lodge setting. I'm trying to see what the set price is on this, but I'm not seeing a tag. They also have a bunch of cafe ware. I just got a bunch from the St. Petersburg Yacht Club. This is more basic restaurant ware. Buffalo China. It's a little bit older mark, though. And they've got lots of cups and saucers and little plates. If they had the dinner plate, somebody could make a nice set for themselves very cheaply. And this stuff is great because being restaurant ware, you can drop it on the floor and the chances it probably won't break. So if you've got kids and you like old stuff and you're afraid to have fancy dishes around them, this can be a good alternative. What do we have back here? Calendar plates are usually not a great sell unless they have a certain design. That one's 1951. Both of them are, actually. The Dutch windmill, not an easy sale for me. And a little more restaurant wear, very plain patterns, some Corel ivy. This is a pattern I think people will start to pick up. Fairfield, this is another one of these China patterns that people don't buy anymore. Look at the way the silver is wearing off because it was put in the dishwasher. Oil City, Pennsylvania, Centennial, 1971. Looks like there were some neat buildings in Oil City. This is Kettle Springs Alliance, Ohio. They did a whole bunch of these in the 60s and 70s. That was kind of their main business at a certain point, because they could get little towns that were having events to have them make up a bunch of plates and then sell them to the people going to those events. Unfortunately, that means those are the only places these are pretty desirable, and it's a limited market, so it's $2.99, but I'm going to leave it. Turkey platter. It's smallish for a turkey platter, but it's got the turkey on it, and this one says made in Japan. A little more lightweight than our American one, $17.99. I do find turkey platters do sell, especially around Thanksgiving. Okay, any other goodies here? These drip cuts are later issue. You can see because they've got the imported by Gemco ware from Taiwan. So when you see these are not 1950s or 60s. These are 1980s and 90s, because there was a lot of interest in 50s and 60s stuff, especially the drip cut syrups. And so notice also the interior is plastic.
This Goodwill also has a lot of dollar store type stuff. But, you know, I realize there's a customer here for it. I'm just glad to see that unlike the ones in the St. Pete area, it's not all dollar store stuff. There are some vintage things. Foil print of the world. And it says right on it, geographic art. Foil art was very popular in the 60s and 70s because it's shiny and it's gold. A very Floridian looking piece here. This looks like brain coral. It may be, but it may be cast. In fact, I would say it's definitely cast because if it was really brain coral, it wouldn't be made in China and it would weigh a lot more than this. So we're going to leave that. Let's see if this is old. It needs seasoning, and nope, Pioneer Woman. Somebody really used this stuff. The Black Roaster is older, but those are pretty common. I'm looking to see if they might be bringing a card out to restock because it is later on a Saturday, and sometimes they do that, but Saturday can be too busy for them to restock, and so far I haven't seen one. And the shelves look pretty full, like maybe they did just restock. This one's a USA-made California pottery, I believe. Not anything significant. Ooh, but this is Viking. I'll bet they don't recognize that, and that's a great color, and it's $2.99. So yay, I found something at a Goodwill. Old fishing lure is $19.99, but that's about what I would get. Ooh, a voodoo doll. Oh my. These guys are definitely out of the late 60s, but they're pretty chipped. And then this. That is a very fancy piece there. A little bit of chipping on the hat as well. But this is a very involved piece of porcelain with hand painting and hand application. I don't think this is necessarily something cheap. I'm going to try to pick it up very carefully where there's no flowers so we don't damage it more. And slide it under there. They are asking $12.99. It's got hand painted garlands. This is actually a nice piece for what it is, and it is Dresden. That is a really cheap price, but unfortunately her arm is missing. There's a lot of damage on this, but still, if this was in good shape, this piece, probably early 1900s Dresden. If I knew someone who could restore, I'd be tempted, because at $12.99, this is probably a $300 piece if it was in perfect shape. This is a knockoff of the Joseph Hoffman vases for Mosher. You'll see that it has a very wide, flat top, no beveling like the Hoffman pieces made in the 50s and 60s have. Old Nikes, well, depends how old. I don't think these are old enough and certainly not in good enough condition to bother with. I got my wish, but it's the shoe cart and the clothing cart and not the hard goods cart today, so darn. They also have jewelry in this Goodwill. It's nice to see a Goodwill that has everything. It's really, frankly, annoying and insulting to go to Goodwills where there's no jewelry and no furniture because they don't want to be bothered with them because you know people are donating those things to them, so where are they going? I realize dealing with showcases takes staff, so I do understand, but it also takes away from the local proceeds and puts it all in the national, which means your local donation is not serving the local area. Ooh, wow, look, this is from Spokane. Cloisonné Emblem Jewelry. Little charm with a little bureau on there, it looks like, by the Jade Tree in Spokane. Wow. Opposite corner of the country. I'll be going there soon. Well, darn, I probably missed out. She said that they had sold so much glass today that they were out of paper. And so, you know, well, hey, I hit the antique shops first. Next time, maybe I'll hit this place first because I actually had fun in a Goodwill. Yay! Well, across the street is the old depot built in 1911. That is the reason the town is here, or at least it was the old reason. Now antiquing is one of the big reasons the town is here. There's a few other malls and shops in town, so we'll come back here and have more fun.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.